Now, our webinar today, as I said, will address the issue of automating your AML and FIU processes through robotic process automation. Our speaker today will be Anshul Arora of Matrix IFS. Anshul has over 11 years of experience in AML compliance, trade surveillance, and fraud. So we're happy that he could join us today to share his expertise and insights. Anshul?
Sure. Thank you, Anna, for the introduction. Welcome to the webinar. Before we jump into the direct topic, I just want to quickly give you an overview about myself being the presenter as well as the company that I represent, Matrix IFS. From Matrix IFS, I've been into the industry providing the end-to-end solutions towards the GRC, governance, risk, and compliance domain. And we have been providing those solutions and services through our global offices around the globe. We have been providing the specialized services through our cost-effective methodology, and we do have over 500 projects of experience as well. As Anna mentioned, as a quick overview about your presenter, myself as well. So Anshul Arora, once I'm the head of a delivery center for Matrix IFS as well. Over the last 11 years of experience, I have provided fulfilled many different roles and also have provided successful deliveries towards 100 plus projects within the compliance, anti-money laundering, and trade compliance, as well as the fraud area as well. To hold a bachelor degree in the computer science and engineering as well. So for this session, let's just quickly go through the items that and we will be talking about the challenges that robotics process automation opts to solve within the financial crime operations or the FIU investigation unit as well. We will be talking about the RPA on how it can enhance the operations team throughput and how it can improve the value from the FIU team as well. We'll be talking about on how we will be able to best implement the RPA into any institution and what are the best methodologies available, which will be coming, of course, from the experience and expertise of implementing this RPA across organizations as well. We'll be talking about in terms of where we can start the journey and how we can guide through the whole process across the process as well. And one of the very important topic within the RPA that I personally feel very close to myself is that robotics process automation is the only proven self-funding project, and we'll be using a case study to review that one as well. So before we jump into understanding what is RPA and how it actually solves the problem, let's first of all try to understand what problem or what are the challenges from the market that robotics process automation is targeting for. So within the AML and the fraud area, I'm pretty sure everyone over here in this webinar would tend to agree with me that the number of false positive or the number of alerts that we are seeing within the organizations or within the institutions are growing on a daily basis, and majority of those alerts are eventually turning out to be. From the last survey that we did across the industry, we identified that at least 75 to 90% ratio of the alerts generated within any system eventually turns out to be a false positive as well. We are seeing as a market trend another new generation and a new era of the 80-20 problem. You might have remembrance that across around 10 years ago or something, there was a definition of a 80-20 problem, which was that in order to run an IT system, 80% of the cost is going towards just running the electricity and turning on the lights of that department, as compared to the remaining 20% is the being utilized towards the value that we are getting out of that IT as well. Now that 80-20 ratio is emerging in the industry within our operations team as well, which is resulting towards 80% of the effort from your investigation team going towards the rudimentary task or mundane task, which is towards the data gathering, data sorting, charting, and of course accessing the internal or external system just to perform these exercises. Once they have collected all of those data elements, once they have collected that data which they need for the alert investigation or the case investigation, and the remaining 20% of the time analyze the data and to make a decision. So this 80-20 problem is emerging towards the every operations unit within the AML especially and the fraud area and other operations area as well, where the 80% of the time spent by the investigators is focused towards the manual mundane tasks from the operations team. All of these problems are indeed resulting into the inconsistency, resulting into lack of standards and of course the auditing gaps as well. For example, if your operations team is accessing any external system where they have to get out of their current case management system and log into that external system just to collect the data, there is no audit log between those steps as well. One of our very important client also mentioned that and confirmed our understanding and our survey as well, stating that over half of their time from the investigators team was spent on a simple task of data gathering towards that analysis, not towards the alert investigation or towards the making a decision of that alert. The main key contributors that we are seeing in terms of all of these problems are, of course, the decentralized systems. Majority of the systems that they have to access in order to collect that data are at different locations or are not consolidated together. There are a lot of and calculations involved data gathering activity before they can go to a step of analyzing that data and making a decision whether this alert shall be a false positive or should be a real alert and should be escalated to a case. Within the operations team, knowing that there are so many tasks which are related towards the manual activities, any resource that lives out of the operations team, there is a huge training overhead within those FIU teams, which require the new temp employee or the permanent FIU investigator once rehired to go through a heavy amount of training before they can be productive as well. And of course, the non-technical staff that we have in the operations team, when they are asked to go into a system, filter out the data, and manually export those data, actions to be done by the non-technical staff turns out to be a very big contributor towards this as well. Very quickly, just one, our understanding is on the same page, so there is going to be a poll question very quickly. That does your team face the similar problems as we have discussed as well? So please go ahead and answer the question once it pops up on your screen. And the question should be on your screen now. So I'll be closing the poll in the next 15 seconds. All right. So as I'm seeing on the results as well here, that 80% of the attendees have mentioned that they are facing the similar set of problems, and 18% have actually mentioned that they don't know, which is also an area that we need to identify whether those are the problems or not. So that trend kind of completely resembles to our industry survey as well, that all of these problems and all of these issues which are currently faced by the operations team are resulting into the throughput problems through the operations team as well. All right. In terms of these problems and the challenges from within the operations team that we noticed, we want to talk about very quickly root cause or towards once we analyze that problem as well. One of the very big reasons that we noticed from the industry was that the products, the people, and the processes that we have within any organization towards the AML operations team which are the three fundamental units of any operations FIU team as well. The product that they have implemented and the capabilities out of that product are not aligned with the expectations that your operations team have, and are also not aligned with the processes and the SOPs, which are your standard operation processes. Those three very fundamental unit of any operation team are not aligned, which directly results into the waste of your talent, a manual reporting, mundane tasks to be performed by your team, resulting into the lack of standards. One of my investigator performs the activities to the best capability, and he results into the best document that can be resulted as part of the investigation. To a new joinee who is quite junior, who is started his career, he tries to sneak away some of the processes. Hence, there are big lack of standards as well. And because all of these actions are performed are performed manually, so there is a huge chance that the human errors will be involved into that as well. So all of these processes and all of these challenges are real and are in the market as well. Very quickly, I want to go through the typical operations process today on how the systems and how the general alert investigation or the case investigation that happens in any operations team as well. So from a nightly batch, once the alerts and the cases have been made available to the investigator, and next morning when the investigator comes in to look at his queue of alerts, as soon as he looks at the alert, there are tons of internal or external system that he will have to access separately in order to just collect the data. Some of these examples you are seeing on the screen. For an example, he'll have to go to an internal database system where he will collect his about the customer, his transactional history. He'll have to validate all the information available within the alert through the KYC data. He will have to validate the address that it is available for that particular customer, that the address provided as a business address or the residential address is not really a kind of validations are certainly there and need to be performed. Um, some sort of Google validation of finding any negative news about the particular customer that is under investigation. All of these systems are manually accessed by the investigator. Going a step deeper, how it results or how it looks in the current typical operation. The investigator logs out or takes out himself from the current alert screen. He opens a new browser window. He logs into the system, the external system. He does a filter. For example, if he is trying to get the historical transactional data of that particular customer from last 6 months, he will go into those raw data source systems. He will log in. He will put in his filter. He will try to extract that data, which sometimes, and from some of the systems, which we have very clearly seen, that those systems do not provide the functionality to automatically export the data either. So it sometimes results into the investigators manually typing that data back into Excel. Once they have typed the data or somehow extracted the data out of that system into an Excel, they will have to run and create some manual charts and manual reports out of those through the pivots and some macros. And after that, once they have got the data, they will attach it to the alert and move to the next system. And as you can understand so far from the process, they have not even yet started the investigation. They have just collected the data required for the investigation. And already they have spent a huge amount of time just to before they even start analyzing that data or before they start reviewing the data to make a decision. So that is how the typical operations process that we are seeing in the industry today as well. Once again, another poll question that we would like to review, that how many internal or external source system or the systems in general that your team have to access during the alert review? Are those under 5 systems, between 5 to 10 systems, or over 10 systems? So I'll go ahead and launch the poll. You should be seeing the poll on your screen now. Another 10 seconds for the poll. So as I see from the results of the poll as well, there are 55% of the attendees who have mentioned that they have to access between 5 to 10 systems just to collect the data. And there are a good number of attendees who have also mentioned that they have over 10 systems. There is only 20% of the attendees who mentioned that they have to access any system under the 5 systems to perform the data gathering activities. Any person who has to go through even manually through a single system as well, the robotics process automation and this methodology is towards you. So now that we have all understood that what is the problem, what are the challenges that we are trying to achieve or what we are trying to resolve out of this robotic process automation, let's jump into the topic of understanding what is RPA and how it makes sense towards the operations process as well. So very quickly, let's go through a few of the definitions of the RPA. One of the very credential website that we found for the RPA definition was RPA is an application of technology aimed at automating business processes. And another one which we noticed online was robotic process automation (RPA) is the use of software with artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities to handle high volume, repeatable tasks that are previously required humans to perform. So I'm pretty sure that most of you are already relating that how RPA can benefit my team because the actions which are performed in the operations process as of today within the AML or fraud operations team as well are high volume, are repeatable tasks, and are actually performed by the human as well. From the RPA, what we have seen in the industry as well, there are already other industries who are making a huge benefit by implementing the RPA within their domain as well. And there are multiple software providers as well within the RPA implementation services too. Now, why, if banking, healthcare, finance, manufacturing are already making the benefit by implementing RPA in their domain, why wouldn't it be applicable for the AML domain as well? So let's try to relate very quickly one-on-one criteria basis why RPA will make sense in the FIU as well. So from the definitions that we actually had just a couple of slides back, we read through a few bullet points or we read through a few criterias which are required to make a case for an RPA. And those criteria were the tasks have to be performed manually, those must be triggered at a particular event, those tasks or those decision points must be documented, all of those tasks have to be repetitive. So and they are getting repetitive. Basically, they have to be performed over and over again and again. And the number of tasks should be high volume. Now, when I review that thing in any of my AML operations processes, each and every single bullet point kind of directly and one-on-one relates to what are the challenges in the operations team itself. All of my, or if not all, majority of the tasks that are performed during the review are manual. Those are triggered at a particular event when the alert was created or confirmed. Those decision points are very well documented in my SOPs as well, which are my standard operation processes. Every alert and for every case, I have to re-perform those tasks over and over again and again as well. And the volume we have already talked about that the number of alerts are not going down within AML. So clearly, for each and every criteria item that is valid for the RPA implementation, AML seems to be a perfect criteria, and AML seems to be a perfect domain where implementation of RPA will make the most sense as well. Very quickly, some of the opportunities which we have seen from our customers and from our past projects of implementation of RPA as well. And these are the very simple opportunities as well. For example, the accessing of internal database systems to collect the data about the customer or the alert that is under review. The RFI system, again, the data about the alert that I'm reviewing, I have to raise that request to an external party or even to a customer or to an external system to collect more information about that particular customer. The customer historical information that I have to collect to understand how this customer has been performing in past, while I have decided that this alert should be escalated to case and then this case should be filed as a SAR as well. That filing of the SAR is at many points and at many checkpoints is manual, and automation of that SAR e-filing is a very perfect example within the automation as well. The KYC information validation of that particular customer, one-stop ecosystem, because as we discussed before, all of these internal or external systems are diversified and are actually not consolidated. And one of the other biggest item that I personally see is the cognitive suggestion within the alert review process as well. As of right now, majority of the alerts, once the data has been collected, are manually reviewed by the investigators, and there are chances on how, and there are places where human errors can be done. So if there is a cognitive suggestion available from the alert from the system itself, that I have already collected the data and I have already analyzed the data, and based on my analysis, this is the suggestion that how this alert should be resulted into, that this is a false positive, and go ahead and double validate that cognitive suggestion as well. But as I said, all of these are the examples. There are going to be specific nuances of every institution and every FIU team. So there will all of those nuances and all of those individual opportunities of the implementation of bots within the FIU team will be identified during the assessment phase as well. And we will talk about what stage the assessment phase makes sense to in the coming slides as well. Whenever I go and speak to our customers about the RPA, there are some misconceptions and true understanding of the RPA as well. So I want to lay those out on the table so that everybody understands and how the industry is also seeing that as well. Some of the misconceptions that I have personally seen from a lot of our customers, I'll give you a classic example. A couple of weeks back, I was speaking to one of our customers and they mentioned, yeah, I want to implement the RPA and I want to reduce the task and reduce the amount of activities being performed by my FIU team. But if I do the tuning of the system, if I reduce the number of alerts, if I reduce the number of false positives in the system, automatically the total amount of effort needed by my FIU team will go down. Well, that statement is true, but that statement does not relate to you being implemented with the RPA. Robotic process automation is towards automating those tasks, is towards not requiring those tasks at all. It's not about how to reduce the number of alerts. Reducing the number of alerts and the false positives specifically, not just the alerts, is a very important criteria of any system. But even if you have X number of alerts, those alerts have to still go through the whole SOP, which will still require the data gathering, data sorting, and accessing those systems. Another example that I noticed was that, fine, I will review my SOPs once again, and maybe there are some activities which I'm doing as part of my operations review, but are not really needed. Once again, that is not the understanding of the RPA. The true understanding of RPA is towards and or removing the complete manual tasks and automating those tasks not to be performed at all anymore by the human. And systems should be able to perform all of those tasks automatically. That is the true understanding of the RPA. In terms of the RPA on how we can implement assist our FIU teams, there are really two types of bots which are classified as on-screen and off-screen bots. The on-screen bots are there to help the investigator when he needs that thing. And the off-screen bots are really which are working in the background automatically and taking the action and performing the activities all the time. So these implementation of these active and passive or on-screen and off-screen bots is the true implementation of RPA as well. In terms of how to approach the RPA, on how to get the RPA implemented in any institution, for an example, I was speaking to one of our other customers and he mentioned, yeah, Anshul, I want to implement the RPA and I want to get to a stage tomorrow that my system should tell me cognitively that what is this alert should result into. Is this a false positive or not? The very first question I asked them, have you already automated how your system collects the data and reviews the data? I said, no, I haven't done any of that, but I want my system to give me the suggestion. So it is good to have that vision because that is the vision of compliance dream vision part. But in order to get to that vision, there are multiple steps or there is a path in the RPA within the operations team as well. How we have seen and how we have implemented and approached the implementation of RPA and the path to get to that compliance dream vision is, first of all, implementing the predecessor stage. That predecessor stage will automate all of the data collection and the data gathering to make the data available with the users, for the users. Once you have collected, once you have gathered all of that data, automatically needed for the purpose of alert investigation, the next stage is the tactical RPA, which is the representation of data so that you can give that data on the tips of fingers for the users, for the investigators, so that they can use that data as well. After that you have given that power in the hands of the investigators itself, The next information is, or the next stage of the RPA is towards providing those bot interfaces, how those bots can share the information. I have a bot who is collecting the KYC data, and I have a bot who is collecting the customer information data. How can I have those two bots share the knowledge? How can I have the scalable RPA implemented as well? And once I have gone through all of those stages or all of those milestones, then comes the cognitive RPA, which will be able to utilize all of those earlier implemented stages. Now that I already have the bots which are collecting the data, the bots which are representing the data, the bots which are sharing and building their own knowledge base as well, then the system will have the flexibility and the capability to be able to understand that data and to be able to deliver a quality and quantitative analysis to get the system and the compliance FIU team towards a compliance dream vision. Another very important topic that we see in that we discuss with our clients as well a lot of times is whether RPA should be approached as a solution or as a service. So very quickly, I want to go through both of those verticals as well. In terms of the solution or the vendor solution, when any RPA implementation is selected to pick up a vendor solution to implement the robotic process automation, it does provide you a development framework. It doesn't all of the bots that you really need. It gives you a framework on which you can create your own bots. So the solution is not really a solution, it is a framework. It does provide you some of the common external data integration connectors pre-built in the system, but if your nuances or if your system needs or if your team, as per the specifics of your processes, need to connect to a system which is not pre-built, there is still a survey or there is still a task required to manually build that integration layer on top of your solution. The vendor solutions, usually what we have seen in the market, are providing an integration layer on how to collect that data, on how to integrate those systems together, but not really on how to represent that data in front of the users. That vendor solution will be able to access your data, to access them, but will it be able to show that data properly to the users? That is a challenge still out there as well. Of course, if you're going for a vendor solution, it will require you or the vendor to maintain that core knowledge of the product and a continuity of the support as well. And as I was mentioning before, a vendor solution of one size fitting all the specific nuances and the specific needs of your institution's FIU team is realistically not possible. As compared to the vendor service, so if you go towards approaching the implementation of RPA as a service, it actually builds the bots using the which are available within your institution, which are available within that organization, so that it will not require any upfront or any ongoing commitment in terms of the product or even in terms of the dollar values as well. It will not require any upfront commitment from that particular organization. The customizations that are performed or implemented through the vendor service implementation of RPA will be there to complement the product that you already have in the place, whether it is any type of case management system, whether it is any vendor solution or the product of your detection system. The customizations or the bots that will be developed from the implementation of service RPA will be towards the complementing of the products that you already have. You will be able to maintain and create your own bespoke configurations and will be able to cover both the integration layer as well as the interface layer, which is you will be able to collect the data as well as you will be able to smartly represent the data, which directly relates to the path to RPA as well, which were the predecessor and the tactical RPA. Once you have implemented all of those customizations and those bots within your system, the future case management upgrades are very seamless and are very smooth. And all of these bots are again implemented and created and developed within the common languages that your system or your organization already have, so that it does not require any additional upfront commitment from the organization to implement the RPA. You might remember the slide that we were looking at before, which was the typical operations process today. So with the implementation of RPA, how that typical operation process state gets converted into an enhanced operation process state, as you can see on the screen here, The alerts are still generated from the same nightly batch detection system. But over here, there is a drastic change. That alert, which was originally done by the system, an investigator was asked or required to go through all of those systems to collect the data. Now, the same nightly batch or the same daily batch, which is generating the alerts, is actually accessing all of those data systems in advance and enhancing your alerts and enriching your alerts with any additional information needed from any of those source systems, from any of those data systems, or any of those data collection systems. For example, if there was an AML alert generated for which you must have to look at the customer's historical information, whether it was the historical transactional information or the customer's information itself, all of that information system will automatically append. It will automatically enrich within the alert so that when the investigator looks at the alert in the next morning, he is not required to leave that alert at all. And all the information that whatever he needed is available within that alert at its fingertips. And now he can actually just jump into the alert right there, start analyzing the data. And if I can recollect back to that 80-20 problem, now that 80% of the effort which he had to spend in the original state is gone. Now he can actually start investigating that alert. He can start assessing that alert right there. This new enhanced operations system or the enhanced operations process will actually be able to provide you one screen, the standardizations, the efficiency, and it is very simple and automated as well. Because now the investigator doesn't need to do any activity manually other than just analyzing and just reviewing the alert. And that is exactly why you hired those investigators for the purpose of their skill analysis, skill towards the analysis, not towards collecting the data. You hired those smart investigators so that they can take the right decisions, not that they have to go through the system. And now this is exactly what they will be doing. A very few examples what we have seen and implemented as well across the implementations as well, the strategic alert dashboards. So once you have opened the alert, once the investigator goes into the alert and actually sees the alert, along with the basic information of that alert, he actually sees the other information as well. For example, any of the negative news, any of the historical information about that customer, his address are automatically validated and it's integrated in the same case management through the Google Maps itself as well. All the dashboard which your manager might need to understand the health of the system, to understand the investigators throughput, any information that is needed either by your investigators or even by your management team is available on the fingertips itself. A very quick example or the case study towards the robotic process automation implementation. One of our customer, when we started looking and assessing their system, these were the statistics that we collected, that they were performing and taking almost 30 minutes of time towards an alert investigation, and for the case investigation, they were spending almost 48 minutes. With an independent team of alert investigation or alert triage team and an independent team towards the case review, there was a total of 25 and 25 dedicated investigators focusing on the alerts and the cases. With that, before the implementation of RPA, they were able to process almost 400 alerts a day and 250 cases a day. But once we implemented the RPA, the dynamics completely changed, because now they are not required, or they didn't have to spend any time on collecting that data, and they had to just focus on the analysis and review of those alerts. So the alert investigation time and the case investigation time reduced drastically. And the new alert investigation time was left out to be only 10 minutes, and the case investigation time needed was only 15 minutes. With the same team of 25 investigators for alert triage team and the same number of investigators for the case review. Now, the same organization in the same team itself is now able to process 1200 alerts and 800 cases, which is a drastic number change. And as you can see, that before and after RPA, that allows that institution to be able to perform all of those processes, perform all of those actions very quickly, and there is not really a training overhead required, because the training overhead that I had before was to understand my SOPs on what systems to connect to, what systems to integrate the data from, and how to connect that data from. But now it is all automated, and now the investigator, all he has to do is to investigate that alert. So there is not really much training needed on how to connect the data, because organization to organization the systems were varying, not the investigation was different, because investigation is the skill of the FIU team. Because now all of these internal and external systems are integrated together and generated and consolidated within one ecosystem, all of that ecosystem, whether it was internal systems or the external systems, is fully audited. Your system or your nightly batch, the daily batch, went through that particular system to collect that data for this customer for last 6 months, is all automated and audited. It's available in the history of that particular alert as well on how that data was collected. It certainly increases the team efficiency exponentially, and of course provides you an accuracy towards the alert and case investigation as well, because bots really don't make mistakes. Once I have got through the cognitive suggestions or the cognitive actions from the RPA stage as well, the alerts will be automatically reviewed and analyzed as well. It certainly reduces the risk associated with the FIU teams and indeed provides the cost savings with the scalable RPA, which is specific to your needs. The the RPA implementation methodology and approach. So now we have already understood what is RPA, how it helps me, and whether I need it. Of course, I need it. How do I implement that one now? How do I approach and how do I look at RPA to implement within my FIU system itself? So how we lay down our RPA methodology is a three-stage process. The very first stage is towards the understanding of your nuances and assessing your system, and we will be measuring each and every task that is performed by your team, by your investigation, and by your investigators. What systems do they go for? What actions do they perform in that system? How do they extract the data? All of those items and all of those actions will be reviewed and measured, and eventually, of course, will be identified as the candidates for the RPA. Once I have assessed the requirements, once I have identified the bots or the opportunities, the second stage comes in, which is the development phase. And over there, I will be proving by creating the POC, by creating the first bot into the system, by aligning all of your stakeholders for the initial scope. We will be developing that bot to get your FIU team towards that target operation model. Once I have created the bot, I will launch it into the production, into your operations team, start to get the benefit immediately and right away. Once I have launched the particular bot into the production as well, we will monitor it to make sure the ROI that it was supposed and it was calculated to be provided to your investigation team is being provided, and that after that we will repeat the exercise again, because now I already have a product backlog of the number of bots that I need to implement, and this will allow me to go for the next iteration as well. So it will be an iterative approach. This iterative approach allows your investigation team, your stakeholders, your technology, everybody to adapt to the upcoming changes as well, so that there is not on tomorrow morning investigators don't really know what to do, but individually with the iterations they will be able to adapt to the upcoming changes and this automation approach as well. So to the takeaways that we have from today's session, I believe we all understand that every firm, every institution have a varying degree of the operations inefficiencies. Some of the institutions might have a priority problem of the standardization. Some of them might have a priority problem towards the amount of time it is being spent. Some of the institutions might have the nuances or the specific problems towards the auditing, but there are inefficiencies within the current operational model of the FIU. Those operation inefficiencies are indeed running across all over the financial crime, whether it is our transaction monitoring, whether it is our customer onboarding, it is running across the financial crime domain as well. With the use of machine learning and artificial intelligence and the robotic process implementation, these are the upcoming solutions of the problems that or the challenges we are seeing in the market as well. We have already understood on how we can build, on how we can design our vision for the FIU. I should be able to consolidate all the external or internal systems into one ecosystem. Data gathering and all of those items should be automated. And as well as we have understood that robotic process automation is really a self-funding project because that allows your team, that frees up the time of your team, of your investigation team, to be able to do much more activities, to be able to take care of the backlog, to be able to enhance your investigation processes, to be able to implement additional scrutiny or the investigation processes, to be able to implement additional rules that allows your business to expand as well. So it's not a matter of whether or not to implement the RPA. It's a matter of now or when to implement the RPA. From our understanding, start your journey today. Any questions, Anna? All right. So as well, which is this? Sorry, one second. Yeah. Is this RPA implementation applicable towards the fraud implementation? The answer is yes, and not just as only yes as well over here. The answer to your question is actually of robotic process automation is towards the any operations team could be your and could be towards the fraud, which could be towards the trading compliance operations team. It could be towards any operations team where you see these challenges. It is certainly applicable and very useful towards that as well. Another
Thank you,
question that I
Anshul.
see.
Anshul,
Sure. Sorry, Anna.
can you hear me?
Now I do.
Oh, good. That's wonderful. Excellent. Then we solved the problem. No, just wanted to move on to the next question. Can this particular service, can RPA be applied to any solution provider?
Indeed. In fact, as we were talking about the vendor solution versus vendor service slide, this is not at all dependent upon any vendor solution that you already have, including the case management systems or the detection systems, as well as it doesn't require any sort of upfront commitment from the institution to be able to implement and proceed towards the path of RPA.
Interesting. Okay. Implementation. Hello?
Anna?
Can you hear me?
Yep, now I can again.
Okay, excellent. Sorry, did you hear my question, or shall I say it again?
I could not hear that. Can you please repeat that?
Okay, no problem, no problem. The question was about implementation. Just the implementation, would you say is the length of a typical implementation?
Sure. The typical length of implementation of the RPA, as we have gone through the methodology and how we can implement and approach the RPA, it really depends, of course, upon the number of opportunities and the candidates that we have in the current SOPs for the automation. As a very high-level review of the RPA, we have already implemented and are in the process of implementing as well. The process usually takes somewhere between 3 months to 12 months as well. But it is very heavily dependent upon the number of opportunities and the SOPs and the nuances of that institution as well. A very high level, it will take around like somewhere between 3 months to 12 months.
Okay, so somewhere between half a year to a year. Interesting. Is it necessary to purchase new software of any kind to succeed in this particular suggested methodology, or?
No. In this particular methodology, we do not require any additional purchase or any additional commitment in terms of acquiring any product or acquiring any technology. These RPA bots can certainly be implemented and of course have already been implemented by us towards a number of institutions by utilizing the existing technologies within the institution as well, whether it is through your HTML code or any technology that is available within the institution or within the case management that you already have up and running for your investigator. This implementation of RPA will be utilizing the same technology and the same code you already have in your institution.
Okay, excellent. So quite simple then. That's good to hear.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I have one more question. Just want to remind the audience that if anybody has any other questions, please do submit them now because we're just getting to the end of question time now. The next question has to do with regulators and any feedback that you may have gotten from regulators about this kind of automation.
Absolutely, absolutely. We were actually speaking to the regulators in past as well, and regulators usually care about the end result or the end documentation that you have completed and prepared towards that alert or the case analysis as well. When you mention about the automation that you have implemented in terms of getting to that end state, the regulators are excited about that one for sure. But they mainly their main focus is towards the end documentation that has been prepared for the for the alert investigation or the case investigation. And as long as that is all strong and that is foolproof, for sure the automation will be an exciting feature for them as well.
Okay, interesting. Thank you for that. I think we're all out of questions now, unless somebody wants to submit a last question. Please do so. Yeah, so I think I'm probably going to conclude the webinar for today. Special thanks to Anshul for sharing his practical knowledge and experience with us today. Thank you very much, Anshul. And on behalf of nomoneylaundering.com and the whole team, I want to thank you for joining us today and have a wonderful day further.
Thank you, Anna, for helping out as well. I appreciate it. Everyone.